Afternoon, folks. It's Roland with Borealis Bushcraft out here at the park walking Max, and a little more training with him. Max, quit eating the burnt log. Hang on, I'll be right back. Oh, sorry about that, guys. He's a puppy. So last time we were out, we did a little bit of tracker love, and we did some K-bar love. Well, we're back out, and we're just going to continue on with this Ontario K-bar that I got used. So in the last video I explained how when I do smaller kindling I like to use my hand as a bit of a baton. So I've actually dulled this back edge and brought it back so it's not sharp any longer. And the spine was almost square but not quite. So I took it on the extra coarse DMT diamond and I squared it off. One day I'll do a video on how to do that. So now I got basically two tools. I got a spoke shave, which I can use for making fine shavings or scraping bark, whatever I need to, and scraping off a fire steel. Other than that, that's the only other changes that I've done to this knife. Nothing's loose, normal. So I'm gonna play with that a little bit today. And my buddy Dan, who's one of our other part-time instructors that helps us out from time to time. Good dude, known him for a lot of years. He had this from Ontario as well, and I'm a huge fan of Ontario knives. I have been for a lot of years. It's in their SP series, so spec SP meaning spec plus. Max is eating a log, better than a stick. So I think, I'm not 100% sure on the steel and which generation this is, but it's the Ontario Freedom Fighter. And again, the dude that all these knives have come from basically took the work sharp to everything. So I kind of had to undo a few things that he's got it done. This knife, however, is basically going to be more of my my get home bag truck knife. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure that they're encapsulated full tang, seeing as it's got a pommel like a K-bar does. But we're gonna put it through its paces a little bit today and see what it can do. It had a really bad sharpening job up here in the heel portion, where the work sharp kind of ground into it a little bit and was very uneven, so I had to go and kind of unfuck it. So now I have a slightly slightly deeper secondary bevel, which is nicely convex now. So, and again, he went and sharpened the swedge. Now, it's not a deal breaker. I just didn't feel like putting in a ton of work to have to reprofile that top edge and getting rid of that sharpened swedge. And yeah, seeing it's going to be in my truck bag basically, which is what I have out today. I didn't grab anything serious. Yeah, has kind of sort of a 90-degree spine, but the swedge goes really far back, so probably not going to be the greatest for striking a ferro rod. Obviously the name dictates that it was, designed as a combat knife first, but I mean, so is the K-bar, so that's the two of them together. It is definitely heavier than the K-bar weight-wise, than the Ontario. I would say a third heavier, and it is definitely thicker. I never actually measured either one of them, and the blade is actually longer. You can kind of see that. Guard to guard, the blade is longer. So, still, good tool. And I've said it before, you know, the knife that you're stuck with is, you know, your survival knife. So you make do with what you got. But anyway, enough said. We'll put this away for now. We'll do a little bit of splitting with the Ontario K-bar. Using some cut wood as a baton here. Max is chilling out, which is what dogs should be doing when they're not walking. And my hips are bugging me today, so I am literally sitting on the park bench. Right? That's cool. Because I don't feel like being on my knees. Get rid of this knotty section so I don't have to deal with it so much. Now, I don't know if you've watched a lot of my videos or not, but you'll notice in most of them I try not to completely wail on the spine of the knife. That, guys, is how knives break. If you're going to go completely full retard on a knife, that's probably where it's going to break the most. You don't need to go completely ape. Give it a tap, let your split start, and normally you can let the weight of the baton drive the knife through the wood. Light taps, it's like using a splitting wedge. You're not going to drive the splitting wedge right through the entire log. You're going to take it in increments. So, definitely a lot safer not having that wedge sharpened. I'm going to use my palm as any kind of an anvil. One of the reasons I like to use my palm like this for doing the finer splits is I'm not working with two larger tools. I can concentrate more on controlling the knife than having to worry about controlling two things. Notice I'm working on the outside of my death triangle. Right? So kneecap to groin, death triangle, don't work in there. Pretty simple. Be surprised at how many people don't know that. So yeah, we're just making some kindling. Nothing crazy. Some of this wood actually feels a little bit on the damper side. Could just be the weather. Notice how I'm not working overly hard, guys. There's reasons for that. One is cautiousness. Should always be focused on the tasks that you're doing. Starting to snow a little bit. Doesn't really matter how the wood breaks, guys. Doesn't really matter at all. So we'll take something a little bit more robust-ish. You hear it cracking? You gotta give the wood a little bit of time to split out. I suspect a lot of times when guys start breaking blades, you can see the knot section there, right? Now, when you're batoning, try and avoid the knot. You know, that side had a little bit of a burl there, but there's a knot here. So I kind of took the lesser of two evils and it kind of went split around the knot. So, not a big deal, right? Not a big deal at all. See how the split's going actually around the knot? If you let it split, let the knife do its thing, act like a wedge. And don't try and force it through the knot. By tapping it, there's also very little shock transferred into my hand. In the last video we had talked about shock quite a bit and how chopping with a K-bar or any knife will transfer shock, right? Well, I don't feel a lot of that shock at all in the pommel, even though it's a very hard pommel, non-shock absorbing. There's definitely certain ways to do things, fellas. You know, I do things my way, and it works for what I do. It might not work for the way that you go out in the woods, but you know what? For what I'm doing, works just fine. Trying to get a little bit of poplar going into this mix here. Poplar is pretty soft wood, but the knots can be unimaginably hard. Normally it breaks apart just like paper, but not always. we had talked about feathering with a K-bar, right? Just like any other knife, it'll feather wood. That was poplar. Find a suitable little piece of pine here. Yeah, that'll work. Does it carve like a Mora? No, it does not. Should it carve like a Mora? Probably not. Moras are designed almost explicitly to work wood, right? Will it perform well enough to get you through? Yeah. Oh, there goes Max with his digging. Got a thing about digging this dog. So she never really dug. He dug in the sand to cool himself off in the summer. Max just likes digging. A lot of guys like to take this top quillion off if they're going to be using it almost exclusively in the bush, mainly for comfort reasons. After a while, if you're not using gloves, it can dig into your web of your hand a little bit, depending how you're holding it. But I'm not overly concerned about it. I don't have baby hands like a lot of people. Let's just say I don't know how to type. Just making a few shavings. Boost things up a little bit. That are nice and relatively straight. You can use the spine now also as a spoke shave. Max has took a liking to deer. So using the spine like a spoke shave, you create very, 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 very fine tinder. I looked for a little piece of pine that had a little bit of redness in it, meaning a little bit more resin. And then we go to town. Yeah, you can smell a little bit of the pitch in there. Not crazy. It's not fat wood by any means, but it'll do the job. Yeah, losing sticks. Getting old. Cool. All right, so we got a little bit of tinder processed up there. Beside a little bit of sap on the edge. There is no edge damage. No nicks, no chips. Everything is still tight. Works for me. Put that guy away. Now, got a big knot on the one end. Like I said, try and stay away from your knots if you can. In a spot where this is going to sit somewhat even. Alright. Bigger Kniff, Ontario Freedom Fighter. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so as I've discussed before, right? Only leaves about an inch to baton on once you're through the log. Don't fucking do this. It's retarded. Okay, start on the outside edge of your log. Okay. And take off plates. So you got that. Another plate. Notice how I'm not holding the knife solid? I'm not, right? Creating a fulcrum. I'm letting the knife do what it wants to do. I'm not trying to force it, keep it straight. I don't care if the knife goes straight or not, right? I'll put my palm on the top side with a fairly loose grip so that if something happens that it splits and flies apart, I still have the knife. But other than that, I'm letting it rock in my hand. I'm not fighting the knife going through the wood all the time. I see a lot of guys when they're on YouTube and they're batoning the living shit out of their blades, and all of a sudden they're like, and they're just putting all their body weight on the handle portion of it, right? And they're pounding the living shit out of the tip of the knife. Well, something somewhere in between the handle and the tip is going to give at some point, because you're somewhere in that blade, you're going to find that weak spot. By leaving a relaxed grip on your hand holding the knife, right? No. Heel. Oh, people walking. Max. See here, you can see we have a very, very good bend in the blade. Very, very naughty mind. Just people laughing now. Smack, heel, stop. It's enough. Behave. Hey, no. Hey, 9, no. Stop it. Relax. No, it's enough. That's enough. It's okay. That's enough. It's okay. It's enough. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, sit. Sit down. Come on. It's fine. It's okay. Okay, enough. No, enough. Relax. Relax. Still a puppy, still learning. You sit. Lie down. No, lie down. That's enough. No, you lie down. Flats. Flats. Thank you. Stay. Alright, where were we? Hey, what did I say? Flats. Go lay down. Hear it? You guys heard that, right? Crack. That's the point where the split is now. Well, okay, almost. Split out. You can see the knot there that it went through. Knife is still straight. Everything is still tight. Imagine that. Non-full tang knife didn't get destroyed on YouTube. Go figure. What kind of voodoo is this, guys? Right? And that's like naughty jack pine. Like total no bullshit naughty jack pine. People baton this crap all the time. So I'd say it's a win. I mean, is it a bushcraft knife? No, not really. But if I only had this one knife in the bush, I think I'm gonna do just fine. So yeah, take it for what it's worth, fellas. Like, tools break all the time. But I mean, part of that is learning how to use your tools, right? So go figure. I think a lot of the trouble is people, ooh, sappy. Sappy, gotta get some sap on my blade. People go on YouTube and they watch all these people batoning the living hell out of stuff and doing all this crazy shit with knives, and you know, they think it's like indestructible. Oh well, it's steel. Oh, steel should win. No, physics will win every time. That's good enough for fuel wood. Alright, guys. You, sappy on my sheath too. Sweet. Handle, awesome. How does it carve? Well, you know what? It's a combat knife. It's gonna carve as well as it's gonna carve. You know? Does it cut? Yeah, it cuts. Any sharp knife will cut. You know? Ugh. I use it in a chest lever grip. Yeah, it's got a slightly thicker guard. It's a little bit more awkward, but yeah, you can use it in a chest lever grip. So, anyway, as far as striking a ferro rod, I don't know. I got to dig in my baggie. Wasn't really planning on ferro rotting anything. So, you guys have all seen the Bushcraft Black. Video's not about that. Extremely poor sparks, guys. Extremely poor. Yeah. With some mods, you want to strike a fire steel, go right the hell ahead. Don't care. I didn't actually get this knife for a bush knife. Like I said, I modified my K-bar. Oops. To be my lightweight knife. So I'll put this guy away. Time being. Does what it needs to do. And you know what? I don't need to vet this any further, because I've used enough knives over the years, course of my career, that I know what I can and can't do with it. So, Bushcraft Black, everybody knows. Rip Sparks, it's a great bushcraft knife, right? Good all-round knife, and it's super lightweight. This is my squared Ontario. Awesome, I like it. All right, so we're gonna take a bit of a break. I'm gonna reset the camera closer to the fire pit, so hopefully you guys can actually see down into the fire pit. And we'll get back to you. We'll start up this fire. And hopefully I don't suck.